Radical Truth is a podcast produced by TBLI Group and hosted by Robert Rubinstein. TBLI is making the financial system work for all. Our podcasts cover the wide range of ESG and impact investing topics. What it is, why is it booming, is it really helping, is impact regenerative in nature, how will climate change impact investments. There will be regular interviews with thought leaders, some known, some not known, but all brilliant, and we will have engaging conversations with all of them. Can we create an economy based upon well-being? Let's make the financial system work for all. This is Radical Truth. Doing nothing on climate will cost 7 times a pandemic. Sandra Philippin, ABN AMRO's Chief Sustainability Officer. What if not making the energy transition costs 7 times more than a global pandemic? Failing to transition costs roughly 20% of global GDP versus just 1 to 2% of GDP to actually do it. That's not activism. That's a bank's own math. I'm Robert Rubinstein, founder of TBLI Group, and this is Radical Truth, where we talk to the people actually moving capital toward a livable future and call out the ones just faking it. No sponsors, no pretending. Today, Sandra Philippin, Chief Sustainability Officer at ABN AMRO, Professor of Sustainable Banking at the University of Groningen, and former Chief Economist at the bank. We got into why ABN AMRO committed to cutting absolute emissions instead of the easier intensity targets most banks prefer. The 700,000 mortgage analysis that found 84% of homeowners could go greener at zero net cost and still said no, and why ESG capital has followed interest rates more than conviction. This is Radical Truth. Good afternoon from our studio in Amsterdam, TBLI Radical Truth. Today I'm really excited because we have the Chief Sustainability Officer of a major European bank, Sandra Philippin, from ABN AMRO. Sandra, for those that are not familiar with you, or maybe there are a few people on another planet that have never heard of ABN AMRO, tell us who you are, what work do you do, what is your big purpose, and ultimately, what are you trying to achieve? Because I know that you're one of the few free thinkers among the banking sector. What are you trying to achieve with respect to sustainability of a major European bank?
Thank you, Robert. Those are a lot of big questions. Let me start at the beginning. So I'm Sandra Philippin. I'm Chief Sustainability Officer, as you said, at ABN AMRO. And actually, I started in this job since January. However, before that, I was Chief Economist for 5 years. And I do think that is a relevant information because in my previous role, I have been working on climate macro scenarios. And in that role, I basically have learned what the impact is of continuing business as usual on this planet. And we will reach 2.5, 3, or who knows, relating to tipping points, more degrees of global warming and what the macroeconomic implication of that is. And especially when you compare the damage or the macroeconomic damage, which is into the 20% global GDP destruction, which is a 7-fold pandemic, if you just want to have a feeling with that. And especially if you compare that with what a transition means in terms of economic impact. And that's just 1 or 2% of our global GDP. So take these two together and you see that, we are all discussing who's going to pay for the global energy transition, but not doing the energy transition is going to be very expensive. And so with doing the global energy transition, you prevent all that negativity in the 20% global GDP or more. So that means the business case for doing this is massive. It's maybe even the biggest business case that ever existed. The issue is, of course, you prevent something negative with it and you do not add something positive in a macro sense, right? So that makes it, of course, then a hard question. So who's going to reset the baseline and take responsibility for that? And that is exactly the reason why this is a public goods problem that has a global angle. Okay, that's where I basically came from. This is where the background. The other thing that I think I need to say as an introduction is I also am a professor of practice at the University of Groningen in sustainable banking. And I've always, in my career as an economist, I've always had a position in academia at full-time or at the side because I find it important to bridge academic insights and practical progress. Yeah. So you also asked, what is my purpose in life? That's a big one.
Your big purpose, your personal big purpose.
Yeah, I want to leave a better place for the future generations. I mean, people always say for my children or my grandchildren, but I don't know. I don't think everybody has this, but I feel very strongly about humankind. And it saddens me to this idea that we're kind of wasting our chances. While the transition is something that's very, very doable. So that's why I'm trying to do this. And I found it intellectually challenging.
Yes,
and it is a challenge that requires creativity and entrepreneurship. And I happen to like both of them. And it requires good communication, which I've learned over the course of my career. I worked in journalism as well. It was kind of a wild sidestep, but it was a great experience. And so I've kind of looked at things from different angles. Yeah.
The financial sector, we've been trying to change the financial system for 30 years, but mainly educating asset owners, managers, and service providers. And I never found it difficult to get buy-in. I found it, simple, relatively simple if you speak the same language. Don't shout loudly in Mandarin to someone who speaks Dutch. They won't understand you. So if you align with their own, hot buttons, what drives them, and the financial sector where you work, you have access. That's the challenge. It's not the convincing, is the access. You have actual access to asset owners, asset managers, where the money is. And do you find it, because the financial sector, particularly bankers, they're incentivized for short-term behavior, more like a hunter rather than a farmer. Do you find it easier or more challenging now as the climate is impacting more and more? Because they're talking about my fees, my bonus, my whatever.
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, let's start a bit black and white, right? So I think in a free market with no regulation, right? No banking regulation, no government regulation, you would be completely right. Everybody would be maximizing profits. That would mean bankers would do the same. That would mean in this day and age, everybody wants to lend to oil companies, right?
Yeah.
Because especially now with the Middle East, oil prices have gone up. So you can earn a massive interest if you just do oil. Let's face it. If you finance wind parks in these day and age, it's very hard because one, the interest to earn on that is not that high. No. Two, everybody else wants it too. Everybody wants to finance the renewable stuff. Everybody has targets on that. But actually, now I'm already polluting the argument a bit because this is not the reality. The reality is that the banking sector, especially in Europe,
Mhm.
is